I told him the same thing. When did you get that? Because I said that this morning.
Yesterday. I got it yesterday.
So
morning,
this.
But I in my head, like, I've got at least something. I've been moving. Like,
This.
did he take his watch off?
Just doing the podcast.
There you go.
Coming back to that.
All right.
Well, to answer your question real quick.
No,
I want to just answer her.
You can answer it on the podcast because I get the same thing.
But she's not going to be included in that conversation.
Sure she will. Vince will represent her. Vince will represent her.
Please.
You talk for Don.
No, I don't. I was simply going to say.
I didn't have it on. So that was my other thing. So I was going to joke with you about the murder thing and like, did you send me the invite and then you died, or did you just leave it by the
But did you die?
That's what I was going to say.
Yep.
Because it was 0-0, and I'm like, what? Like, you got a lot of stairs in your house, Joe. You're going to get some kind of.
He said the same thing this morning. He called me, and I'm like,
excuse me, that's for the podcast.
Oh my God.
Excuse me, I just need to.
Hey, well, at least
I just need to jot this down 1 second.
At least he sent you guys an invite.
I sent you one. It's in your fitness app.
Oh. I have to go to the fitness app to see it.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Outer Belt Podcast. I am Patrick. We have a great show for y'all tonight, or today, whenever time you're listening to this show. Right out of the gate, we have a couple very exciting articles to get to, news stories, things that are happening. Things are happening around us that are questionable, and we got to get to the bottom of this. But first, I want to introduce my co-host, Chili.
Hey, what's going on?
And you all know my producer, Jer Bear.
Hey, everybody.
All right, let's get right to it. First off, TA is selling their Nashville location. Vince?
That's the one they're closing down, right?
It is. Yeah, that's the one.
Like that observation.
That was a great observation.
Great observing
Great
skills
observation.
over here. Yeah, wow.
Actually, so what's up with TA, man? They've been doing all kinds of stuff lately. They're talking about getting bought out by British Petroleum, BP. They are doing just weird stuff, and now they're selling the Nashville location. Actually, that's not true. They're closing it down.
Right.
They actually sold it. Do you know when they sold it?
I do not know when they sold it.
They sold it in 2020.
Really?
They've held on this long. They sold it to the property management firm RMR Group back in 2020, and they've been leasing it ever since, and they're finally shutting it down.
Because RMR Group probably has decided what they want to do with that property and got the permits and the approvals to do it, so they need to tear that piece down and do something new with it.
I think so. If I had to guess, and I'm just spitballing here based on facts, that they're going to build a mixed-use development on that 15 acres with, if I had to guess, again, with facts, a maximum height of 30 stories.
Yeah, so they are ready to make more money off that property than TA is paying them in lease payments. And that piece of property, too, is in a pretty...
it's a great area.
It's a beautiful area.
That's why, we used to go, when we go to Nashville and we were driving, that's a place we would stop.
Sure.
If we had a weekend. If we were there, in between loads,
right?
It's a pain to get in. It's a pain to get out. You got to find a spot. And I think you got to pay to park. It was just not... I think it's pay to park, isn't it?
I know a lot of it is there, yeah.
Yeah. So it wasn't great for us from that perspective. But if you're going to be there for the weekend, what other truck stop is in such a great location?
The Loves is just north of Nashville.
Yeah, but you can't. It is a dump, but you can't literally walk to downtown. I mean,
no,
now you want to.
It's a cheap Uber, but no, you can't walk to downtown. It's a long walk.
And if you're going to a Tennessee Titan game, I mean, they're right there.
Yeah.
It's a really great location for that. But last time I was there, that TA was a dump.
Yes, because they get used so much. The ones that are closer to town, it seems like, whether it's Nashville or here, the Pilot here in Columbus,
yes.
The one that's right in town, it's a dump. It gets used so much and abused, and it's so busy that the staff generally doesn't have time to clean it, and the drivers don't take care of it. They don't care.
I can absolutely see that. I really can. Jerry, when y'all would go to Nashville, why didn't y'all take care of the TA?
That's not my problem. But I will say you're absolutely right there, because I know when my mom started driving a long time ago, 18-wheeler, there's always been high crime and stuff in that area. And she remembers one incident, and again, this was 15 years ago or more, but a man was actually walking back in the middle of the night, and someone jumped out from in between trucks and threw gas on him and lit him on fire.
Wow.
So there's always been issues at that location.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when we would go to Nashville, if we were going to stay there for a weekend, we would still park out at one of the outlying Loves. I forget where that brand new one was we went to, but we would park out there and get an Uber into town just because that one Love's right there in town is either packed full or just not somewhere you want to stay for the weekend.
I get that. There were several times we stayed at the TA. Well, okay, there wasn't a lot of times we stayed in Nashville, period. But the few times we did stay at that TA. Again, if it was the weekend or what have you. And yeah, like coming back to the truck, every time you walked back and you saw you had all your windows and nothing was shimmied open.
Yeah.
It was kind of nice.
It was good.
It was a good feeling.
Today was a good day.
Yeah. There's a few truck stops around the country that are like
There
that.
are.
And, you know, their risk Eric and I took when we were driving and enjoyed it. But a lot of people don't. A lot of people are like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do exactly what you and Melissa did. Get a truck stop in a safer area of town and Uber in. The Uber thing, too, is something that's different, I will say. So a lot of my experience driving, Uber was just, Lyft didn't exist at all. And Uber was just starting to become a thing. And there were a few cities across America that you could actually get Uber at.
Sure.
Whereas now I feel like you can, it's everywhere. It's pretty much in the entire
It's
country.
in a lot of places. I mean, and that leads to my PSA for tonight.
Okay.
If you're getting an Uber from a truck stop, make sure you can get an Uber back from where you're going to the truck stop. We were parked at in Commerce, Georgia, and we could get an Uber from the truck stop into Commerce, which was, I don't know, 3 or 4 miles south of I-40. But when we got to the restaurant, the waitress told us, hey, you know, don't hang out too late because you won't be able to get an Uber back to the truck stop from the city of Commerce back to up to I-40. So just be careful when you're Ubering or Lyfting or however you're doing it that you can get a ride back.
Absolutely. That's a really good point. That's a really good, I just flew it down to Atlanta.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I drove a truck down to Atlanta.
Oh, and then flew home.
And then flew home. And my flight got back in Columbus at midnight. And I'm telling you, I was like, please let there be an Uber available when I get off this flight. I tried to do a what do they call it when they book it ahead of time? Like a
reservation?
Yeah. And they said for some reason the Columbus airport doesn't allow that. So, I was nervous, but I found someone.
Nice.
A super nice guy. Brought me all the way back to my house. It ended up being nice
Worked
evening.
out.
It worked out really
Worked out.
nice. That was a crazy trip too. Man, driving all the way down to Atlanta, like left in the morning, drove to Atlanta, met up with the team, and then flew back to Columbus all in about 22 hours. I mean, just a wild
Just a
circle.
quick round trip.
Yeah.
That's what we
Tired
do.
though. Man, I got back home. I was tired. Let me tell you. Exhausted. But that's not about me right now. Right now we're talking about TA selling or closing down the Nashville store. They do have another store they're telling people to go to it, which tell me how you feel about this. They are recommending people go check out the brand new. No, they're not. Just kidding. I need to read my articles more closely. So they have the TA in Franklin, TA in Antioch. The Antioch one's, I think, the one that Eric and I have stayed at quite a few times. And then there's a Petro in Kingston Springs, Tennessee. But isn't Kingston Springs, isn't that Petro pretty far away?
I'm not familiar with where that Petro's at.
I think that's on I-40 headed towards Memphis, and it's probably 45. It says within 30 minutes, but I think it's more like 45 minutes away from that downtown Nashville. Unless there's another one I'm not thinking of.
Could be.
But I think
I can't see anything going out 40. I mean, there's Love's and it's about 45 minutes away. We broke down there once. I'm drawing a blank on the name.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Dixon.
Oh, Dixon.
Dixon, Tennessee.
I know Dixon, Tennessee. Yeah. I bought my Grand Cherokee from Dixon, Tennessee.
There you go.
I broke down in my Dodge Ram.
Dixon, Tennessee.
Turned out it had to have a whole new engine. And then when I went to pick up that truck, the coolant was pouring out of the truck. And so I walked into the dealership and I was like, you didn't fix it. And they were like, "We're so sorry. How can we make it up to you?" And I said, "Well, you have this nice white Jeep Grand Cherokee there that looks mighty fine."
Yeah.
And they're like, "We'll make you a great deal on it," and they did, and I bought
Awesome.
it.
Awesome.
But yeah, so I know that area pretty well. Not a lot there.
It just feels like the TAs they're sending you to now are not very close to Nashville anymore.
They're not. I mean, the Antioch one, and even the Franklin one, they're not crazy far away. They're like one's on I-24, one's on I-65, so kind of headed south from there.
Yeah.
They're not terribly far away. They're actually probably nicer TAs, to be honest.
I would not be surprised if they were.
Well, since we're talking about TA, we were talking the other day about TA being acquired by BP Products America for $1.3 billion in cash. And that shook out to $86 a share. And it was kind of like the shock heard around the world. Well, an interesting thing has come from since then. An unsolicited offer from a convenience store operator it calls Party G, which I don't think is their actual name. I think that's just how they're putting it in their documents.
It is.
Has actually reached out to TA and said, we would like to make the exact same deal, but we'll give you $92 a share. They didn't really tell us what the total was. They just said $92 a share instead of the $86 a share. After some vetting, TA has officially said no to it. And I was like, I wonder, like, that's always interesting to me when that happens, when a company's going to get bought out and then someone else steps in and says, oh, we'll take him. And then they still go with the other offer, especially when it's lower money. So, like, why is that? But I did some investigating and I found out why.
Why, Patrick?
They are, well, thank you, Vince. I thought you'd never ask. They have decided to go with, stick with BP because a majority of the proceeds they were going to use to purchase Travel Centers of America was actually going to be debt. So they're going to take out loans and they were going to pay for the company with debt.
This was the Offer G people that were paying with debt.
Correct. Party
Yes.
G is going to pay with debt, and they didn't disclose who those creditors were and where they were getting the money. And so after looking at the whole package, TA realized this is fairly shaky ground.
Right.
And so they're like, BP's much more solid. They're not having to do all these financing agreements. They're not going to be immediately in a bad spot. Because the problem with buying a company with debt, and there's a lot of companies that do it, it's not unheard of at all.
Happens all the time.
Happens all the time. The problem with buying a company with debt, though, is if you don't immediately generate cash flow, that debt can eat you alive.
Right.
And a lot of times they buy companies based on debt with the understanding that at one point we will be big enough or profitable enough to pay this back. But if that doesn't happen, then your debt just eats you alive. I mean, that's what happened with Kmart and Sears and Woolworths and just a whole host of companies is ultimately that debt just eats them alive. And so TA said, no, we don't want to be a company that gets shut down in a few years. We want to make sure that our people, that our executives, that our people at the truck stops all have secure footing, and BP's offering that, and this other company says they're going to do that. But again, when you're financing with debt, you're depending on the market a lot.
Well, I think a big part of this, too, is that, yes, they're financing it with debt, but they haven't secured the finance commitments from
That is correct.
from a finance company. So, you know, TA can agree, oh, this is a better offer. It's more money. It's $8 more a share, $6 more a share, and agree to it. Tell BP, thanks, but no thanks. We're moving on to the better offer. And then Party G can't come through with the financing, and the whole thing gets blown up, and it's a problem for everybody.
Absolutely, yeah, they're 100%. That is one benefit as well of going with a tried and true company like BP is they know they're going to get that money. They know that deal's going to go through as long as there's no monopoly, antitrust issues there. Exactly. And honestly, I don't think there will be. BP is a big company, TA is a big company, but neither one of them are so massive that I think that they would look at as a monopoly. Now, if TA was trying to buy Pilot, different story.
Yeah.
Or if TA said, or Love said we want to buy TA,
right?
That probably wouldn't get through regulatory.
Well, I agree with you there. I think because TA does have the truck stop aspect of it, it takes away from being just a gas station. And I don't know if you've noticed, you probably have, but the gas station portion of TA are not TA branded.
Correct.
They're usually a franchise of another oil company, whether it's Shell or BP or any of the other gas companies out there. So I think that separates, it takes away some of that antitrust. I could be wrong. I'm not an attorney. I slept at the Holiday Inn Express last night, but I'm not an attorney.
Well, and I actually wonder if that would add. That's something I actually thought about. Will that add to the antitrust argument? Because when I made my trip out to Vegas, I drove out to Vegas and back a few weeks ago. When I made that trip, I shop at I buy my gas at Shell because it's the best place where I live to get gas, and I have the rewards program. So I just figured I'd just buy Shell the whole way back. And I noticed that a lot of TAs have Shell. A lot of the Shells that I picked out actually were TAs. And I wasn't intentionally looking for TAs. I was looking for Shells, and it just happened to be that was the case. Right. And it didn't get my brain working of like, what happens when BP buys them? Are they going to maintain that as a Shell to, keep a balance? Is Shell going to want to even sell gasoline to BP and help one of their competitors? Or are they going to treat TA as a totally separate company, nothing to do with them at all, and so TA can continue operating as they are now? And if they have Conoco, or if they have BP, or if they have Phillips 66, or if they have Shell, that's no big deal because they're operating completely independent of BP. Or are we going to see this BP wave come across the country, and then what are they going to do in places where they don't have BP available?
That could certainly be part of the DOJ review of it, that they can't just come in and wipe out all the independent stations. They are not independent really, but they have to look at the contracts too, though, right? I mean, if I have a contract with TA to be a Shell at a specific location, there's some time on that contract.
Yes.
BP can probably buy it out, but that's a lot of money that it may not be worth it. Let the contract run. But the DOJ might just say, well, that station stays a Shell. It can't become a BP. That they have to keep a certain balance so they don't become a monopoly in that aspect.
I could see that. I also noticed a lot of the TAs across the nation, the gas station is a completely separate building from the truck stop. So not all places,
sure,
but there are quite a few places where the gas station is it's on property, and you can definitely tell they're affiliated,
right?
But they are physically not attached. I wonder if part of that would be selling off some of those stations to independent owners or local franchises or what have you to help keep that balance.
I think the question here is, are those already owned by independent people that are not affiliated with TA? It could be a local person that runs that lease. They buy their gas from Shell. They do the Shell branding. It's a Shell franchise, basically, that's leasing the facilities from TA.
Yeah, and the argument, the question, that's a good question, because I do know when you walk inside of it, it does, like everything's TA, like coffee's TA branded, the rollers are TA branded. So everything is TA, but, TA Petro, they do franchise their services out.
Sure.
So when you go to an Iowa 80 or Kinley 95 or Grove 70, Grove, whatever that is out in Kansas, those are all franchises of TA and Petro.
Right.
Those are not actually owned by TA Petro. So they're already doing that with truck stops. Maybe they do that with gas stations. I don't know. It's an interesting situation.
It really
I look
is.
forward to seeing how it all shakes out. I am encouraged that TA is sticking with BP and not going with someone else who has more of a questionable footprint, just to try to get a couple extra dollars out of them. But we would love to hear, what do you think? I think all of us are excited that that TA is getting some new ownership and some new management, and we're hoping for the best for a truck stop that used to be great, hopefully becoming great again.
Yeah.
But I would like to hear what y'all have to say. I'd like to see your comments. We read your comments. We read your emails. We love them. We respond to them every chance we can. And we just recently got one that we thought we'd talk about on the show from one of our teams, Raylene Marsh. How you doing, Raylene? Oh, she's not actually on the phone.
She's not on the phone.
Oh,
no. We haven't got the phone in part set up yet.
We're working on that.
We are.
Jerry?
Working on it.
Okay. So, your question, I appreciate the first half. It was very kind words to us, but I'm going to focus on the second part, which is, can you go over how you select trucks, accessories, etc., or do you just buy them off the street? I was wondering if you ever take driver feedback on accessories to get a better idea on driver needs, or is it more of a resale thing in mind? So we talked about this question at nauseum, and a couple different ways we could look at it. So we hope we are interpreting what you're asking correctly, and if we're not, by all means, let us know, and we'll refocus our question. But from what we take of it is asking basically, how do we buy our trucks with what equipment inside of them, especially mostly from a sleeper driver comfort perspective, and what drives those decisions, or is it just like buying a Chevrolet? You go to the lot and you buy what's already there.
Right.
I believe that's what they're asking.
I believe that's what she's asking. Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to try to answer this as best I can. So when we select trucks, we work with a couple different vendors on the market. So we mostly work with Freightliner dealerships. We do have a relationship with a Volvo dealer, and we do have a relationship with a Kenworth dealership. But right now in the market that we're in and how hard it is to get trucks, they're really not building the specialized equipment we use. Not that they wouldn't, but they're like financially making it difficult so that they don't have to. They can focus mostly on just selling tractors.
Sure. They're happy to sell you what you want if you have the money to pay for what you want.
Correct. And there's a customized penalty right now towards that.
Yeah.
When the market slows down and less people are buying trucks and trucks are easier to get, then they're going to be like, oh, hey, remember us? And then it'll be a lot easier to work with them. So right now we are mostly working with a couple of Freightliner dealerships, and Western Star. And so that's the equipment we're purchasing. Now, we're very happy with that. The Detroit Diesel DD13, the DT12 transmission, also by Detroit, and the Eaton Fuller transmission are extremely well-built pieces of equipment. Our engines are million-mile plus engines. The transmissions are million-mile transmissions. We have very few issues with them. We have emissions-related issues, but that's across all brands with all manufacturers. It just is what it is.
We also take care of our trucks, too.
We do.
We maintain them very well.
Absolutely. But you're 100% correct. Yeah, we do take really good care of them. When we have problems and they come to us, we get them fixed, or we have them taken care of on the road. And so because of that, we're happy to stick with the Freightliner and Western Star nameplates, so we've had no reason to look elsewhere at this time. So primarily we run Cascadias and M2s. They have been by far, I think, the most comfortable trucks that teams are happy to drive. The Volvo would probably be our second, and the Kenworth being our third. But we're not able to get those right now, so that's kind of a moot point. When it comes to things like in-cab, so our insurance, everybody's insurance ever right now is pushing safety systems.
Sure.
So that's collision avoidance, lane departure as the primary
safety
features, correct. And then on a side, would like to have would be dash cameras, forward-facing dash cameras, and
inward-facing.
No,
good.
just forward-facing.
Good.
And insurance gets a little weird when you have owner-operators versus company drivers, and since we're all owner-operator independent contractors, inward-facing is not that big of a deal.
Okay.
It's just outward-facing that the insurance companies care about. If you're a company driver, they definitely want that inward-facing. So that is a little bit different. People get those two confused a little bit. So we're talking forward-facing. We're talking no audio recording. And then also side warning detection. So that's like if you ever rented a car, or maybe you have your truck now, where when someone comes up next to you and you put your blinker on, it honks at you, or it does something to let you know, hey, there's a car there. Don't turn because you'll hit them. So we are the camera thing is kind of right now a driver's choice if they want to do it or not do it. We have a couple carriers, a few different carriers we work with. One of them is doing a beta test with a few cameras, but we're not sure what's going to happen with that. It was a 90-day beta test that's been going on for almost 2 years now. So that just tells me they don't know what they want to do with it yet, which is fine. There's no rush.
Still testing the waters.
But a lot of the teams that do drive with us, they do have their own dash cams, and we highly recommend it. I encourage people, go grab one. They're not that expensive, and they can save you a preventable on your MVR or with your carrier, and they can also get you out of having to pay thousands of dollars for court fees. Right. When an accident happens and you're able to grab a dash camera and show a cop right there, this is what happened. Immediately, the cop knows it's not your fault, and they write the report with you not at fault.
Right.
And so, to me, that's worth its weight in gold. But it's not something the insurance is requiring, and it's not something that we feel as independent contractors we should force upon anyone. So
there's a fine line we walk there with the independent contractor
absolutely
model.
Yes, absolutely. So we allow the teams to make that decision. We recommend it, don't require it. Side obstacle warning. We're not required to have that. We put it in a handful of trucks. Jerry, you actually were in a truck with this, and the feedback we got was, when you look at the insurance, like how accidents happen,
right,
that's not
a big one,
super helpful, and B, it's annoying. Our drivers hated it. I mean, Jerry, you were in one, and you had that side amber light that came on and made the noise, right?
Yes, I did. And it was something that I did not appreciate. In the beginning, I thought it was something that I would, enjoy. I guess enjoy is the wrong word, but just something that I thought I would learn to appreciate and make me a better driver.
Right.
Because I think there's always room for improvement. But I just, over time, it was constantly just going off at non-existent times that it didn't need to. One thing that comes to mind in particular was, let's say you had 2 lanes turning to the right and you were always in the outside lane, as a big truck should be. If you're turning to the right, a car beside you in the next lane, it's going off the entire time because it thinks you're going to hit them.
Yeah. So that we got that feedback from drivers, and we quit buying them. That was 6 trucks we bought with them, and it was 6 and done. The collision avoidance lane departure, on the other hand, and adaptive cruise control, on the other hand, those actually are way bigger issues with insurance companies. Trucks hitting something in front of them, following too closely, slowly, not leaning out of their lane, drifting out of their lane. Mm-hmm. Those are major issues that plague just driving in general, not even in trucking, even in your personal vehicle. It's the same deal. And so we have opted to go ahead and buy those. So all of our new orders do have those on them. And that was a big financial commitment on our part, all that's like collision avoidance and lane departure. You're talking around $6,500 per truck. So it's
cheap.
It's a huge investment. Sure. It's not cheap. It's also an ongoing investment because every time you replace the windshield, you got to have the sensors recalibrated. So it does add a lot on the truck side of things and what it costs, but the increase in safety is huge. And again, it makes the insurance companies happy. Happier the insurance company, the less accidents we have, the better our rates. It takes time to happen, but
it happens.
It does happen.
And ultimately, keeping our drivers safe and the traveling public safe is a huge priority for us, too.
That's probably the most important thing by far, I would think. I mean, I enjoy it. When I drive one of our trucks and it has the collision avoidance and it has lane departure, yes, sometimes it will go off on its own. It's not often, not every day. We're talking occasionally that happens.
Right. Yeah.
But just that little nudge of, if I am drifting a little to the right or to the left, like, when we did this, or when I just did this drive across America, and even a couple of weeks ago, or a couple of days ago in Ohio, the wind advisory was out. It was so windy, it was hard to track straight. Like, you really had to pay attention.
Right.
And so just having that little nudge of saying like, you're getting a little close to the edge, pull it back in. That's huge.
Just that friendly reminder.
Just a friendly reminder.
Sure.
And then the adaptive cruise control, I love. I mean, I think it's great. When you're driving down the interstate and you have that adaptive cruise control on, if someone slams on their brakes out of nowhere because they see something, because they fell asleep because they're playing on their cell phone, whatever it is, your truck sees it and responds to it before you even notice what's happening.
Right.
Like, that is genius. And I really love on the Cascadias and Western Stars that it is smart enough to where if someone cuts you off, but they're going the same speed as you, it won't hit the brakes.
No,
it'll just take the edge off the gas.
Just coast a little bit.
And coast a little bit, and then when you get a good distance, it kicks back in.
Back up, yeah.
Or if it needs a little more, add some engine brake in there, whatever it knows how to manage that speed comfortably, so it's not like it was back in 2012 where it would just jerk the whole truck to a stop.
Yeah.
And actually, it's funny. I was just driving one of our older Volvos, and it's just that older technology. And I was like, oh, yeah, I forgot this is what old collision avoidance is like. And I'm so glad the new stuff is so much better.
So much better. Melissa and I didn't have adaptive cruise or lane departure warning in any of our trucks, but driving them now, and I don't usually get to go very far in them, 20 miles or so.
Yeah.
But to set the cruise and be able to not worry about that type of thing is actually pretty nice. You start to drive the truck. You start to be aware of your surroundings and what's going on.
Yeah.
And then, if you're cruising along at 65 and traffic in front of you slows down slow enough, next thing you know, you're doing 55 and not realizing you're doing 55. And everyone's doing the same speed, obviously, so it's not a big deal. But maybe it's time for a lane change to go around somebody. But you start to be aware of what's going on.
Absolutely. And I've used them too in like, say we're going through a little bit of traffic and the speed does slow down to 40 miles an hour. The truck maintains a safe distance from the person in front of you.
Yeah.
And so it does take, like, a lot of people think like, oh, that's so unsafe because now you're not in control of the truck anymore. Well, it's actually the opposite. Now your attention is geared more towards scanning for other traffic and people doing things that the system's not going to catch. You're not as stressed about like, oh, I don't want to get too close to that person in front of me. How fast am I going? What's, all that stuff. The computer's doing it for you. I think it enhances safety. I don't think it cuts away from it.
No, I don't think so either.
And when you look at the science, not the science behind it, when you look at the data from it, the number of wrecks it's saved, the number of lives, and people go like, how can you know that? But we can look at equipment that is involved in wrecks and equipment that's not involved in wrecks. And when you see that almost none of the equipment that has the collision stuff versus does have it,
right?
I mean, even within our own fleet, I can see a huge difference in the trucks that do and the trucks that don't. Yeah. It's
That's
wild. It's wild to see, but it absolutely makes a difference.
That's very interesting.
And we still have a lot of equipment in our fleet that does not have all the new safety systems on it. It's a thing that's got to be phased out over time. But right now, I'd say probably half of the fleet doesn't have those systems on it.
Quite a bit doesn't.
So it's
we'll
still
get there.
Yeah, we will eventually have everything on there with the safety systems. But right now, it's about 50-50. I think probably in the next 5 years, or not 5 years, but maybe 3 or 4 years, we'll start to see that older equipment phase itself out completely. But so that's on the technical side of things. That's why we have that equipment on their trucks. But as far as like sleeper goes, which I think is what most people care about on accessories, we do a couple things. First off, we don't buy anything off the shelf. If you talk to people at AA Sleeper, if you talk to the people at Bolt, even if you talk to people at ARI, they will tell you I don't buy just anything off the shelf. If they have a solid design that's good, like the 96-inch M2 Freightliner M2 sleeper from Bolt, is solid.
It really is.
We haven't asked for a couple tweaks, but not any major changes. It's a really good design. It's well thought out, and I love it. But then when we go to the rest of their products, like the side-by-side sleeper that Jerry did a video of a few weeks ago on our channel that a lot of people have seen, that's not their original design. That's actually my design. I sat down and we talked through it, and there were some things they were doing that I didn't like, and we made those modifications. And then Same with the bathroom trucks. Same with the our current Cascadia regular truck. Like I sat down and kind of talked those through and design those with the sleeper manufacturers. If you talk to someone like Bolt, to get a custom floor plan made is extremely expensive. The one good thing that we have is that when I talk to them and say, hey, I want to do a custom floor plan, I can bring the table or Hyfield can bring the table. Let's do 12 trucks.
Right.
Now all of a sudden, it's not that expensive. It's no longer a custom floor plan.
For
Now
one
it is
truck.
now it is a bulk buy. It's going to go in their records.
Right.
And so if they ever need to build that truck again, they can just pull a file, and it's got all the schematics and everything they need. And so there's been some stuff like that where if you looked at our trucks and you looked at half a dozen of them, you might go, oh, they're all kind of built the same. Yes, but we designed that design. We sat down with the engineers and with the designers and came up with that design, which is why so many of them look standard, because
Because they're standardized for our fleet.
we've standardized our custom design.
We see that when we buy a used truck and bring it in to go through it and refurb it and get it ready to go back out, is we see those differences.
Yes.
It's noticeable. It really is.
Yeah, and a lot of them. So we don't buy our used trucks very often, but we do in weird freight market or weird markets. So like right now, we're in a weird market where there are no trucks to buy. You can go to any truck dealer you want and say, "Hey, I want to buy a custom sleeper straight truck," and they're going to be like, "Good for you."
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
there's all the money in the world won't buy you a truck right now. Or you can order one, but it's a year and a half before you get it. Like it's unbelievable how difficult it is to buy a truck right now. So we have bought some used trucks, low miles, gently used trucks, as I like to call them. And then when we get those trucks in, we take them and go through them, and I call them like Hyfieldize them. You know, we do change all the things we need to change to put it in spec with the rest of our fleet. And sometimes that means we don't buy a truck because we can't do that.
Right.
And so we just pass on that truck and we let it go. But if we can modify it and we can do it in a price point that makes sense, then that's what we do.
Sure.
We would rather have a standardized truck that kind of fits the rest of our mold than we would have oddball trucks. And we've got a couple oddball trucks because we've had to buy purchases that we can get close enough or something like
Sure,
that.
yeah.
But that's few and far between. Like in top of my head, I can think of 3 trucks we have that are unique builds. That's 3 trucks out of 106. That's nothing.
No, it's nothing at all.
Everything else is pretty standardized.
And when we go through and Hyfieldize it, we do what we can to make it get to where we need to be. And
Absolutely.
if we can't do something else and it's not a safety issue, then it remains original.
Correct. Yep. So as far as do we take driver ideas? Yes, we absolutely do. On a lot of the stuff, we the designs that our teams are in right now are directly because of feedback we've gotten from a team. Some things are feedback because we needed something easier for maintenance, or we needed to make it a little different because of weight balance. But majority of what we have right now is the way it is because we do listen to that feedback and we do make those changes. The problem is when you get feedback and it's like, that's a good idea. We've already, depending on what that change is, a lot of times it's a major change and we've already got 20 trucks in the pipeline.
Right.
So by the time we see that change, it could be 2 years after that change is brought up to us.
And it could be a completely different model of truck and
Totally. Yep.
different sleeper design at that point as well because the truck model has changed. So
Absolutely. A good example of that is our Western Star 5700s. We are getting 5 more Western Star 5700s this
Okay.
year. And that's it. After those are done.
done, no more.
No more. They have completely discontinued that
Yep.
series of trucks. And so if we have a great idea for that truck, doesn't matter. Can't buy it anymore. So there is some of that stuff at play as well. The M2s that we run, they just got a huge.
Oh, that is a huge update.
I'm very excited update on those trucks. Those are becoming basically Cascadia lights. And they're going to be so nice. I can't wait for those to come in.
I'm looking forward to those.
But again, with that comes new challenges. Now we have to think of new things. Now we're going to build our traditional truck, and we're building them slower because we don't exactly know how all the parts are going to fit right now. So I'm sure there's going to be some trips for me up to Fort Wayne to look at the truck and go like, all right, that's not going to work. So we have to make this change, or that's not going to work. So we have to make this change. And then when it gets to Columbus, it's got to hit 3 different vendors before it's done. And I'm sure I'm going to go to every one of those and address the changes on it because it's so new.
Step by step.
But that stuff's out of our control, and a lot of times it's good. I mean, I like the 5700 from Western Star a lot, but I love the 57X.
Oh yeah, it's a beautiful truck.
Like, it's, they took a good truck and made a great truck.
Right.
The M2s, from everything we've seen, they've took a good truck and made a great truck. So I'm not upset that those changes have happened. The new Cascadia, again, took a good truck, made it to a better truck.
Yes, they did.
So as long as they're progressing in that direction, I'm happy with these changes. But they do create all new changes that we have to go work out. So sometimes we have to refigure all that stuff out. I'm rambling, but anyways.
But the people, I think, are getting a good impression, a good feeling for the time it takes for these trucks to be built. It's not something that you can go, like you said, to the dealership and say, I want to buy this truck. And they say, well, here you go. I got 5 out here.
Yeah.
Take your pick. It is a process. And then when you are customizing them above and beyond what they're already doing to customize the sleepers, it does take time to do those things, and it takes time out of your day to work through that process as well. So,
and it's not just, I don't just stop at the sleeper. We don't just stop at the sleeper. People, like, we always kind of get there and we think the rest of it's kind of a standard truck.
No.
When you look at our toolboxes, I mean, we've got a storage unit right now full of toolboxes that we've pulled off because they're not the toolbox that we like. We've got a handful of trucks where they talked about using a certain toolbox. I think it was Chandler toolboxes. They said it was every bit as good as the one we were using. And so we're like, cool, let's try them. They're terrible.
Yeah.
The doors don't line up. We've had to bring them over to the bodybuilder multiple times to have the doors lined up and corrected. And sometimes they stay and sometimes they don't. They've just not proven to be a good product. So the toolbox I use is an RCI toolbox. It's a stainless steel door that's polished, so you never have to polish it again. Like, we just do those extra steps to make sure that we're getting the best quality product and our teams are happy with it. And not everybody's doing that. I mean,
I was going to say, speaking of toolboxes, I was at Bolt today getting a truck repaired, and a FedEx Custom Critical driver, not one of our drivers, pulled in his Cascadia, and he looked at, we were in M2s, Melissa and I, and he looked at the fairings on the steps and was like, wow, did you guys do that yourself or do they do it here? I said, no, it's a Bolt thing. And then he asked about the toolboxes. He didn't have toolboxes on his truck.
Yeah.
And he asked where we got our toolboxes from. So, yeah, those are things that we add for, in this case, not necessarily driver comfort, but aerodynamics from the fairings on the steps in the M2. And then the toolboxes just for the sake of being able to store necessary equipment and free up that space in the box for cargo.
Absolutely. And when it comes to like the toolboxes, so people ask all the time, what do we do for toolboxes? Our standard build is for a 96 to 108 inch sleeper. Those are kind of our standard sizes. We do those with 2 toolboxes because we can, with that size truck, we can put a 22-foot box on the truck, which gives you a couple foot of room in the front of the box to really be able to store your blankets and pallet jacks on it.
Sure.
Exactly. So we do 2 toolboxes, and those are really just for tire chains. And then the other, the idea is tire chains and oil, coolant in one box, and in the other box, that's the team's personal box, so they can put a grill. What have we found in there? Charcoal grills. We have found printers. We found canopies.
You name it, we find it in there.
I mean, those boxes, camping chairs, tons of camping chairs.
Tons of camping chairs.
In those boxes. And so that is for the team to use. Now, on our 120-inch sleepers, these are the ones with the showers and the bathrooms in them. Those trucks, we put 3 toolboxes on because the sleeper's so much larger, you don't have that additional room in the front of the box. So we put a 3rd toolbox on there so that the team has a place to put all that equipment.
Right.
So, like, it's been thought through. We've gotten the driver feedback, and that's how we've equipped the trucks. There's a bunch of people out there riding around in trucks with just 1 toolbox. So it's like you don't get anything for your personal
Nothing
equipment.
for personal.
Like
tire chains, and that's it.
Yeah, but that's kind of the off-the-shelf truck, right? That's the basic model. And that's just not the trucks we buy. And then on the boxes, we've worked with Cap City. We've worked for the Wabash box. I'm sorry, for the Morgan boxes. We've worked with Wabash National to the point that Wabash National replaced all of our boxes when we had those trucks. We don't have any anymore, but at one point we did. And the new toolbox, I keep saying toolbox, the new cargo boxes were great. Really, really great products, but working with them on a new product. And then with Kidron over at, what is the name of their company? Cold Rush. Working at Cold Rush on the Kidron product and really getting that perfected in. And there's a bunch of different liftgate options that are out there. We've gone with Waltco. Waltco's a little more basic, but they are tried and true. They just don't break down. Yeah. And when they do break down, we can get a
repair.
Yeah, a repair done all over the place because they're a huge company in America, and we can also get like the rams and such for them, or the pistons, like the cylinders.
Okay, the cylinders, yeah.
Hydraulics. The hydraulics. We can get that stuff overnighted and have a team back working immediately if one of them does fail, and they fail very, very rarely. Can't do that with other companies,
right?
So we've definitely a lot of the stuff. That's what I call maintenance related thing, right? So we did that because of maintenance.
Less downtime.
Less downtime for the team. Less downtime for the truck. Whereas the sleeper stuff we've done more for driver comfort. So that's kind of a little bit of inside Patrick's head of how we've bought trucks. And do we take driver input? Yes, all the time. If you have an idea, if you have a cool trick that'll work, I love that kind of stuff. If we can incorporate into our design, we do. I've seen a lot of things that aren't in our designs, and there's reasons for those. So sometimes I've had people reach out and say, hey, how about this? And it's like, well, this is why we can't do that.
Right.
Onan generators. We don't do Onans because they break down all the time. They're super quiet, and people love them.
Oh, very quiet.
But they break down all the time, and when they break down, and I've got teams that you could talk to about this. When they break down, they pull them off the truck, and you come and get your Onan 2-3 months later when it's repaired. That's insane. To go that long without an APU? No. So that's a reliability maintenance related issue that, it's a great product. It's dead quiet, but it's not dependable.
What got me the first time I used an Onan was here in the yard. Truck came back from a team that had an Onan, and I didn't realize I had to turn on the autogen function every time I turned the ignition off.
Correct.
So it took a few times before me having to jump the truck before I realized that, okay, I need to make a note in this truck. But before I get out of it, I need to make sure the autogen is on.
Yes.
So that was one of the weird things to me, that it seemed like it was such a high-end product to not have that be automated. Just was very frustrating. It is very frustrating.
They're extremely expensive. They're $5,000 premium over regular APU. They're extremely expensive, but they, again, so the autogen, for people that don't know, is the APUs that we use, and most people do, they have a battery monitor, so whenever the battery gets low, the generator automatically kicks on, charges the battery, and then turns itself back off. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a great thing.
Yes, but in the Onans have that, but you literally have to thumb through an option. No, you don't have to thumb through the options.
No, you press the button and then press enter.
Yeah, you press the button and then press enter. So if you're in a hurry and forget, that generator's not coming on. If you forget to press enter, so you press the auto on, but you forgot to press enter, it doesn't kick on. And you probably haven't had this happen yet. You might have. Sometimes there's a safety feature built in there where if the truck hadn't been cycled in so many times, it'll make you actually go and you have to turn the truck to the on position and back off again. It's a safety system built into it for that autogen to work.
I have not experienced that yet.
You will.
I will, I'm sure.
And so it's like, that's a list of seriously frustrating things, and the APUs that we use, and again, most of the industry does, eliminates that.
Right.
So, yes, we take driver feedback, and overwhelmingly, the teams wrote back or told us back because we did have a bunch of Onans at one point. Jerry, when you came over, we had a ton of Onans.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly, they said, no, we would absolutely much rather have a Comfort Pro or a Dynasis and not have to worry about coming back to a dead truck than have an Onan.
Yeah.
And so That's the kind of thing. So we've gone through a bunch of iterations of these trucks. There's more I'd like to talk about on truck design, but we don't have
We'd be
time.
here all night.
Maybe we'll do it some other time.
Sure.
Because I'd love to talk to y'all about the history of the bathroom truck. Because
I'd love to hear that history.
It's a very exciting.
really
It's a
would.
very exciting history.
Really would.
But anyways, so yeah, that's kind of.
Raylene, thanks again for that question, and hopefully we answered it for you. If we didn't, please write again. Let us know what that question, how we can help clarify that for you if we didn't. But
Absolutely.
Thank you for the question, Raylene.
Yes, and again, if you have questions about our suggestions about truck design, or hey, this would make our life easier. Hey, this thing that you do is kind of aggravating. We want that feedback. We want that information that
please.
helps us. The better product we can put out, the more successful all of us will be. And we love that feedback. We love that information. Thank you. You can comment on the video. You can send us a email to the outerbeltpodcast@gmail.com. You can write us on Facebook. You can go to our new website, hyfieldtrucking.com, and during business hours, there's a chat feature, and you can chat with us on there. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Appreciate that. So
you can also leave those reviews and comments on the podcast as well.
Yes,
you can certainly leave reviews on podcasts. Put that in there, and we'll read those as well because people do listen to us.
Absolutely. And especially on the podcasting sections like Apple Podcast and Google Store and all that stuff, those areas have not taken off like YouTube have. We appreciate all of y'all that are listening to us on YouTube. That has had a huge, huge impact on the algorithm and what people are saying about us. And it's pushing our content out to a broader audience. So thank you so much for supporting that. On the podcast side, not so much.
No, but
So-
we're slowly building.
We're slowly building. So, look, I can be greedy. If you're watching us on YouTube, open up podcast on your iPhone or go to your Google Play Store. And is it Google Play Store?
Yeah.
Yeah. And find our podcast and give us a review.
Yeah.
Listen to a couple episodes on there. See how it sounds without the visuals.
As you're cruising down the road, throw the podcast on and listen to us as you're driving.
Absolutely.
You don't have to take the time when you're not driving to sit and watch the video, although we love when you do that too.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
And we love, if I can talk you from, Rollins to, where's Rollins, Missouri? Where's that go to? St. Louis? Rollins to St. Louis. We'd love to help you get through those hills. Make sure
Yes,
you
we
download
would.
the episode first because you'll lose signal.
Well, subscribe to it, or I think in Apple Podcast now it's not subscribe, it's follow. So you can follow our podcast, and it'll download automatically to your phone, and you have it there whenever when it is released on Saturday mornings usually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we have gotten to the point of the show that everybody is most excited about.
Most excited about it. Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
Today's airplane is Silver Airways.
Silver Airways.
You're looking at me like you know why I brought this out.
I don't know why you brought this out. I'm looking at the plane. It's got propellers on it. It's
What is unique
the color
about
scheme.
what is unique about Silver Airways airplanes?
They've got propellers on them,
No, well, besides that,
and the color, the livery
yes,
is
they're pink.
That's not pink. That's red.
It's got a flamingo on the tail.
I can't see the tail from
It's
my
got a
perspective.
it's got a
is beautiful
flamingo.
flamingo.
Yeah,
They're
it's pink.
Wow. Okay.
So I heard about this company a few years ago. I always wanted the opportunity to fly them. They only fly like in southern, like Florida, and they also fly like in Alabama and like Mobile, Alabama. Like we're talking down south.
Right.
And they also go to the Bahamas. Never thought I'd get a chance to fly them. Had an excuse a year and a half ago or something like that to fly from Orlando to Miami.
Okay.
And so we decided to take Silver. So Eric and I got to fly on this beautiful bird right here. And I just love the two things I love about it. One, when was the last time you flew a prop plane in America?
The last time I flew a prop plane in America was from Los Angeles, California, up to the Bay Area.
And that was
Just
1960.
the little commuter. No, this was
Oh.
probably 5-6 years ago, I think.
What?
Maybe longer.
Had to be longer.
Oh, it's been a while. You're right. I think about, I'm just getting old. Yeah, it's been probably 10 years.
Easily. Yeah. It's very few places. Now, like Alaska Airlines was flying props for a long time.
Okay.
They actually just stopped. They just stopped like 2 months ago. Yeah. But nobody does. It's very, very rare you find them in America. Now, they're all over Europe. But in America, it's few and far between. And so I had the opportunity, Eric and I had the opportunity to fly this thing. We flew it. It was a 2-hour flight. You know, on a jet, it would have been 60 minutes.
Sure.
Which makes me understand why we wear jets. And I was excited because this particular airplane, it's an ATR 42-600. So it is the smaller of, they make the 42 and the 72 series, 42 and the 72. They're the same airplane, just one's longer than the other. This is the shorter of the two. And we're excited to fly them because they're all about how quiet they are. Like, these are not your old-timey props. These are like brand new, great
Interesting.
technology,
Yeah.
glass cockpits, etc.
Was it quiet?
This thing was so dang loud when it took off. I could not yell at Eric and him hear me. It was so loud. I was like, I have been deceived.
Yes.
I was lied to. These things are ridiculous. Now, it was cool because you got to like walk to the airplane from the ground. And actually,
Okay.
on this week, I'm going to share on Facebook a picture of this airplane, and I'm also going to share a picture of us getting on the airplane, or a picture of the airplane when we're down in Florida. But again, it was so incredibly loud. And you board, like, you have to actually leave the airport. You walk on the concrete, and you walk over to the airplane, get on it that way. It was quite an uncomfortable flight. It was very loud. I'm not really selling it, am I?
No, you're not. You sound like you're very disappointed that your expectations of this flight were not met at all.
They weren't even approached. I mean, outside, except for the expectation of, and they dinged us for luggage. We were a few pounds over each, and we got $200 out of us for
Wow.
luggage.
$200.
$100 person.
That's worse than Allegiant.
I'm telling you.
Well, we'll discuss Allegiant another time.
Yes. And so I haven't flown them yet, so I don't have a plane of theirs. We should fix that.
We should fix that.
I hear destined to Panama City is a nice. No.
I hear that Columbus to Daytona Beach is nice.
So, anyways, this airplane, it's bright pink, y'all. It's Silver Airways. It's a bright pink airplane. It doesn't make sense. It's not what you would think it would be. It's got the big old propellers on it. It looks like Indiana Jones flew on it. And that's the airplane of the day. If you get the chance to fly Silver, go JetBlue.
Because they're quieter than Silvers.
Not even like
Wow.
so loud. Can you imagine me yelling at you and you not being able to hear me?
No.
Now,
I can't imagine that.
I will say this: once we like climbed and got to just regular cruise, it was very quiet.
Okay, but just
But taking off was
taking off.
like NASA. It was so loud. For those of you that don't know, we are currently at Matt's, the Mid America Truck Show
in Louisville, Kentucky.
Now, I know this looks like our normal studio because it is. But we, at this moment that you're listening, not the moment that you're watching, no.
If you're listening or watching on Saturday, April 1st, we are at Matt's. We are pre-recording this show.
Yes, we are at the Mid America Truck Show.
Yes.
We've been hanging out with Panther in the Panther booth.
In the West Wing.
In the West Wing. We've been having a blast. Did you see the ARI booth?
I did.
Did you see that one truck, though?
That one truck was just insane.
I was like, who needs that?
Oh, my goodness.
Who needs that?
No one needs it. Who wants it?
Well, everybody.
Everybody wants it. Yeah.
Still, I just like...
The line to go see that thing was just crazy.
It was ridiculous. Oh, and let's not even talk about the Matco trailers. Or Mac trailers.
The Mac trailers.
Oh,
yeah.
So shiny.
Yeah.
So shiny.
Pretty stuff.
Yeah. You saw the cattle trailer, and it's like, where's the obligatory poop?
Right.
Just,
there's no poop
there's
at
no
all.
poop.
No, but it's pretty silver, lights everywhere.
Yes.
Those things are so lit up.
It was lit.
Makes you want to be A cattle hauler.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, we're just having a blast, and we're saying all this because we hope it comes true.
Yes, we are. We're willing it. We're pushing it forward.
Putting it out there in the ether.
Yes.
So, if y'all came out to see us, we're super happy. We're glad to meet all of y'all. If you were planning on visiting us at Matt's and you didn't get a chance to, we missed you.
We did miss you.
We thought of you.
You can certainly come see us in mid-July, up in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Absolutely.
At the Expo.
I want to back up 1 second.
Oh, sorry.
We are doing interviews, and we've been doing interviews here at Matt's, and we are going to be hopefully airing some of that stuff over. We're going to drop some things in as shorts on YouTube, but we're also going to be putting some of that in next week as a recap show. So we hope you're excited.
Yep.
That's to look forward next week. Recap of Matt's. We're going to talk about that. I think it's going to be a great show. I think it's been a great show.
It has been a great show. It really has.
It's so hard to be in the future talking about the past. What? No. It's so hard to be in the past talking about the future as the past.
Right. Yes.
So, but you do have the opportunity, if you missed Matt's, to come see us at the Expedite Expo. Where is that?
It's in Fort Wayne, Indiana.
Fort Wayne, okay.
Yep. At the War...
Nope. At the Allen
County War Memorial Coliseum.
That's good. That's it. Exactly. Yes. And it's the Expedite Expo Crossroads of America trucking show. And who's going to be presenting there?
Hyfield Trucking is going to support, going to be sponsoring Casino Night.
That's right.
On Friday evening.
Yes.
And the after party.
Yes.
You'll have lots of other carriers and vendors there that are there to show their wares and answer your questions. They've got lots and lots of sessions both on Friday and Saturday morning where they'll be talking about various things, insurance, how to manage a fleet, how to purchase a truck, financing.
Yes.
They'll answer your questions on the expedite business too in some of these sessions. So
yeah, I'm excited. Our good friends, Millennials in Trucking, are going to be there talking about what's it like to be a young person in trucking. Jackie and Mike, they always do a wonderful job.
They do. Yeah.
So we're excited to go and support them. And we are going to have a booth there. It's going to be booth 413. And we would love to come see you, come hang out at our booth. If you're curious about who Hyfield is, come meet us face to face. We'd love to shake your hand, talk to y'all a little bit about what we do. If you are already with our Hyfield family, come see us, come shake our hands. If you've not met one of us, it's a great opportunity to meet us. And if you have met us before, we just look forward to seeing you again. I mean, it's just, we've got a great group of people, and everybody's going to be there. Everybody's going to be there. The whole staff. So if you're like, geez, I wonder what Jerry looks like,
you'll get to find out.
Well, that's a bad example. You go to Expediter Boogie,
and watch the video and see.
There. Yeah. But if you're like, geez, I wonder who hasn't been on camera? Like, what does Eric look like? He'll be there. Happy to talk to you. Jimmy and Don, who handle our maintenance, if you want to meet with them, and Donnie, if you want to meet with them and ask them any technical questions about your truck, they'll be happy to tell you. If you want to meet your mentor, a lot of people have talked to their mentors. They've never actually met them.
Never met them in person.
It's a great opportunity too. We look very much so forward to seeing you there. It's a good time for the industry. It's a good time for us as Hyfield family to gather and talk with each other and hang out and socialize. We're going to have events. We're going to do a parking lot party if weather permitting. And we just really look forward to seeing all of y'all out there. The other thing we want to talk about is coming up January. That's a lie. December.
And January. So it's only half a lie. December
30th? I really should have wrote that down. December, I think 30th. Hyfield at Sea, Wonder of the Royal Caribbean's Wonder of the Sea. We're all taking a cruise, Hyfield family. We're going to do a cruise over New Year's. That is typically the time of the year where freight is absolute slowest. And we know most of you go home for Christmas and New Year's. So come out and join us for your New Year's bash. It's going to be, I'm fairly confident the dates are December 30th through January 7th. Royal Caribbean's one of the seats. It's the world's largest cruise ship out of Port Canaveral, which is Orlando, basically. It's an hour outside of, or 45 minutes outside of Orlando. Yeah. We are going to just have a blast and go out there and go sailing and not worry about work and not think about trucks and just float and socialize, have a good time, soak up the sun, forget about the north weather, snow blizzard that's happening.
That we're coming home to.
Yeah. We're just going to work on our tans.
Yep.
And we would love to see all of y'all out there. It's going to be a great time. Again, most of the staff is going to be out there hanging out with us. I mean, I don't even know what to talk about. You get a drinks package, you drink all day, and you sleep all morning.
Sure.
We got excursions that we're going to be, we're trying to figure out, actually.
Yeah, we're still working out excursions.
Yeah, what we're going to do.
Yeah. There's a lot to do on the ship, lots of good food.
Yes.
Lots of good entertainment.
Yes.
The islands we're going to be visiting are beautiful, so you can do nothing at all. Go find a beach and lay out, or you can do an excursion and tour different aspects of the island. There's a lot to do.
Absolutely. And people ask me too, like, same thing. What do you do when you go cruising? Vince, what do you do when you go cruising? And I tell people, like, it depends.
Yeah. Depends on the mood.
I enjoy, like, one of my favorite things to do, and I'm doing it on this cruise in St. Thomas, where we're landing. I'll be going over to St. John, and I plan on going to the beach, getting a bucket of beers.
Okay.
2 lawn chairs, or beach chairs, I guess they would be.
I guess they would be.
You rent them right there. Well, they're cheap, $10 a chair, something like that. Putting that chair in the sand, popping open a cold one, and just doing nothing.
Nice.
Just
sounds like an excellent
nothing.
time.
If I get hot, I'll walk into the water. If I need another drink, I'll walk back to the bucket of beers.
There you go.
If I got to use the restroom, I'll walk into the water. No, no. I mean, probably, but still,
Right.
It's a lot of fun. It's that kind of like relaxation. It's my zen. It's just, I love that stuff. On the other hand, there's another island we're going to. I can't remember which one it is. We're gonna go ziplining.
Really?
Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna go take a truck to the top of this hill, and then we're literally gonna zip line. And Eric and I have done this before. It's so funny. Okay, last time we did this, we were in Mazatlan. Yeah, thank you. And so it's Eric, myself, my sister, and my older father, we'll say. I'm not getting his exact age.
Do you have a younger father?
I don't.
Oh, okay.
My father, who is
older, more advanced in age than I am.
Much. And so we do the zip line, right? And that's fun, right? To see my almost 70-year-old father careening through the woods on a zip line and just having a blast. We're all having a blast. We get to the very last one. We zip line over to it, and we're in a treehouse.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, that's cool. We've been in a treehouse before. Where's stairs? There's no stairs. They hook you onto a rope.
And just lower you down?
No. You belay on.
Really?
You jump out of the treehouse, and it has the auto, pressure stopper thing.
Right.
So you free fall for a little bit, and when you pick up enough speed, it tightens down, and it slows you down.
No, thank you.
I didn't know. I had no clue. I promise you, had I known, I would not have done it.
Now that I know, no, thank you.
It was so much fun. And to do it, and to watch Eric and my sister do it, and then to see my older father do it, I was like, yes. Oh, what a sense of pride. It was like, yeah. So, you can have the jumping out of a treehouse attached to a rope experience, or
you can have to sit
on the beach with a bucket of beers.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the beauty of cruising. You can do nothing or do everything. There's so much to do and so much to not do if you want to.
Or a little of both.
Yeah.
You know, when you're going to hit, like on this case, we're hitting like 4 islands. So do high-paced adventure on one island.
Yeah.
Do absolutely nothing on another island. Do something in between on another island. You know, if you're a rum drinker out there, plenty of
Plenty of rum.
super high-end, nice, great rum distilleries to go check out.
Plenty of inexpensive, really good rum on the islands,
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And you can bring back, a lot of people don't know too, like when you go to those kind of places, you can't bring alcohol in the ship from your departure port.
Right.
But from your ports that you go to, if you, like, you can bring back don't quote me on this, I think it's 2 bottles of alcohol, liquor per person into the state.
Right.
And, tax-free.
I believe that's correct.
So if you know you're going to a nice little distillery, buy a bottle,
Yeah.
you bring it back to the ship, they confiscate it, but they label it, and then at the end of your cruise, they give it
Bring
back to you. And so you could actually bring back a couple nice bottles of rum or what have you back. It's a lot of fun. It's a great time.
It's a blast. It really is.
You know, it's just it's a great way to get away from everything, be around a bunch of people who are, I think, we're relatively fun.
I think we are.
Yeah. You know, where else do you get to go, like, listen to a piano man sing in the middle of the night till 2 o'clock in the morning with me?
Take your request and everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Or a steel drum band by the poolside in the middle of the day.
Or
I
both.
love me some
on the
steel
same
drums
day.
on the same day.
Yeah.
Wake up in the afternoon and go listen to the steel drums and
Yes.
get a little bite to eat.
Yeah.
Go watch a show, and then sing along with the piano man.
Absolutely. Take a little 5-hour with you.
Yeah, yeah.
I will say I
Couple of
bring
5
a lot of 5-hour with me.
Yes,
on
you
this.
do.
I bring a lot.
I think you clear out the logo CVS of 5 hours when you go on a cruise.
I do. But you know, I mean, when your day starts bright and early at 5 p.m., you have to
you have to be able to hang. Yeah.
Jerry, you like cruising?
I've only been on one.
I keep thinking
Did
you've
you
been on
like it?
more.
Yeah, it was good for what it was. We thought it was going to be more of a younger crowd because we did
Yes.
Brazil up to Carnival and all that. But it turned out to be a much older crowd and more laid back. And
Now, when you say much older,
well, I'm only 44, so
So they were probably my age then.
yes,
I say they were more like 60s and 70s. They
Okay.
'80s,
All right.
yeah, 80s.
'80s.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It
So
was
my age.
It was it was a you know, we did the same. That was on Celebrity Cruises. We did the same cruise line when I brought my mom and dad to Alaska for you know, they always wanted to do an Alaskan cruise, so we brought them with them. And on that Alaskan cruise, my dad's like, "There's a lot of old people on here." So we've already assessed his age. So it's yeah, those some of the cruise lines are interesting. Sometimes cruises are really nice, and sometimes you know they're full of screaming children, and sometimes you know
They're full of-
everybody's asleep at 8 p.m. So it's just interesting. Royal Caribbean, the one we're doing, it's both. You're gonna have a lot of families there. You're gonna have a lot of business people there. You're gonna have a lot of grandparents and older people mixing in the crowd. It's a very well balanced cruise ship. It's a very well balanced cruise line, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, thank you, Melissa. Jerry, this afternoon, by afternoon I mean morning, around 9 o'clock, you and I have agreed to become fitness and health friends, right?
Yes,
And support each other
on Apple Fitness Plus.
on Apple Fitness Plus and share our goals and our successes with each other, right?
Yes,
You know where this is going, don't you?
I do.
So, Vince, this morning, I worked out, not to brag, but I did my little workout,
Okay.
and then
Congratulations.
thank you, and then I sent a little synopsis they give you over to Jerry of my workout.
Nice.
And so then he called and was like, "Hey, I sent you a request on the app and you didn't take it." So I didn't even know there was a request. So I found the request and I was like, "Oh, sure enough, you did." So I accepted it, and then I shared with him mine.
Okay. Did he share back?
Well, he'd already shared it with me, so I had to share him my information.
But did he share his workout with you?
Strangely enough, no.
Huh.
So, anyways, one second, you'll get your turn. Your Honor, he'll get his turn.
He just got crazy
So-
eyes. I'm nervous.
So, I go and I look at his health journey for
Yeah.
the day.
Right.
And-
All
and
those rings are closed already.
Keep in mind, Eric, what's your name again? Jerry. Jerry gets up at like 4 a.m. And so by the time I'm talking to him, he's already been up for 4 or 5 hours.
Right. Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, let me see what he's already accomplished. 0% of his movement goal and 0 calories burned for the day. Now, for those of you who don't have an Apple Watch, if you wake up and breathe, you're
you're
getting
getting some calories burned.
If you walk downstairs and get a cup of coffee,
Right.
you get movement.
Sure.
And I was like, Jerry, are you dead? Like, I'm a little concerned here.
Well, it's funny because Melissa had the same concern. She was all happy that she had some activity yesterday on her watch and somebody sharing with her.
Yeah.
And she sent her stuff over to Jerry and she looked at Jerry's and nothing. And she was concerned that he was dead too. And earlier today, I was offended that Jerry didn't invite me to share information back and forth. And turns out he did invite me, but it didn't matter because there's no activity
There's no
from Jerry.
activity
So
to
it
be
just, why bother?
Well, what's
Why
great?
bother, Jerry?
What's great is I feel like people don't realize Jerry has his watch on 24/7. Have you ever seen Jerry without his watch?
I have not.
Never. It
I have
just
not.
doesn't happen. He always has it on. And so what we're asking you is, are you dead?
Not yet. Still kicking.
Is there any
So-
activity to see from Jerry today?
Let me explain real quick. And that is because
Well, that's all the time we have. We have. Sorry.
That's because when I wake up in the mornings, yes, I do start my day pretty early and I get going, but I'd grab my phone, I go downstairs and I get my coffee and I just forget to put my watch on.
I see.
And when I'm sitting at the keyboard all day and I'm working on the website and doing video editing and stuff, it just hurts my wrist, so I don't put it on. But as soon as I go to leave the house, that's the first thing I grab and throw it on.
Right. So
therefore,
I'm curious, Jerry, how long have you had your watch on today?
I put it on like right before we came here.
Okay. So it's been 2 hours at least.
Yes.
I'm looking at the little thingy here for Jerry, and it says 0 calories and 0% of fitness goals. Is this not updating? Did you not accept my request? I'm
is
not
your
sure
watch
what's
not
going on
working?
there.
So I am showing. Yeah, it's already circled twice.
If
I thought you were going to go like, I am dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right. Whoa, I am dead. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so just in the last few hours, I've done almost 1,800 steps.
Okay. All
Oh,
right.
wow. I
It
have
just hasn't updated.
I'm
I
just concerned your watch isn't working right because it's not sharing with me. If you need me to wear your watch for a little bit, a couple days, a couple years, I'd be happy to do that for you.
Gotcha.
That's
Okay.
called teamwork for all
Right,
you
It's
right.
out
called
there
teamwork.
listening.
Yeah.
It's teamwork.
Just saying. I'm just jealous of Jerry's watch.
We're going to
that's all.
get you an Ultra.
Well,
One
he's
of
got
these
it.
days.
We're
Is
gonna
it
get
Ultra?
you.
I was going to
It
say.
is an Ultra.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ultra 2000.
Something like that.
Yeah. It looks nice. I got an iWatch
3?
3,
No, you got like the 5, I think.
4.
4? Wow.
It's a judgment-free zone, people.
Well, that's what Melissa's rocking too. Is my old 4.
There's
it
nothing.
still works.
It still works.
It still
There's nothing-
works. Yeah.
Like 3s died quickly. The 4s have lasted. I think the 4 was Apple's first time of being like, all right, I guess we got to make it quality.
Wait until you step up to the Ultra. You're really going to notice the battery improvement. Like, I can go 2-3 days but without charging.
Yeah,
this.
because you're not working out.
Okay, well,
That's a whole nother story.
we would like to take this opportunity to thank all of y'all for listening, hanging
Yes,
out with us.
thank
We
you.
hope we've made your day a little brighter. And if not, you can send your hate mail to theouterbeltpodcast@gmail.net. And
Yes.
your fanfare can go to theouterbeltpodcast@gmail.com. I am going to sign off. Everybody, stay safe, make good decisions.
Don't leave money on the table.
And keep those wheels a turning.